Hello, Sarah Sabin, transformational leadership and business coach here. And today, in the Leading in the Modern Way video interview series, I'm talking to Sumit Nagpal, who is the CEO of Cherish. Very excited to have you here today, Sumit. Would you like to briefly introduce yourself to my audience in your own words?
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure to be able to speak with you and your audience. I'm Sumit Nagpal. I'm the founder, CEO, chairman of a Boston-based company called Cherish, which is my fifth company. I'm a serial entrepreneur. This turns out to be what we think the most impactful company, all of which have been in what we today call digital health. I expect that this company is going to have a tremendous impact on people's lives around the world. And I'd love to tell you more about it.
Thank you. And I always love to talk to serial entrepreneurs because there is so much to be learned about their journey over the course of starting and building multiple companies. So I'd love to start by asking, what have you learned so far over your entrepreneurial history? And how has that helped you in your current company, which is Cherish?
Well, so I can answer from many perspectives. So I'll start with just product market fit. On the one hand, not every great idea succeeds, partly because of execution, but also partly because not every great idea is either ready for the world or the world is ready for it. And so sometimes you get very lucky and you show up with a great idea. Other times, a great idea just never takes off. So I'll give you an example. One of my companies in the past, we wanted to join up health records around entire regions so that people could have a single medical record. Well, the idea is very, very important, but it has taken 20 years, and in the United States, literally acts of Congress, and we're still not there. Because the business incentives to cause that to happen either don't exist or they're actually not aligned with that goal. And so product market fit is key. I won't go into much detail about product market fit for our current company because we're just launching our product. We'll leave that for a future conversation. But we think that we have learned a lot of lessons from having had great ideas across all our companies in the past, and not necessarily had some of those great ideas become commercial successes, because, well, not every great idea is a great business. So big lessons learned there. Big lessons for me personally. Ultimately, they're about what makes great teams. I've learned just how teams come together, and the most powerful teams are the ones where people feel supported and free to be themselves. Teams where people feel that everyone's carrying their own weight, and where a leader's role is to bring in awesome folks and set them free to do what they were brought in for. So, those lessons over the years have led to one of, in fact, what I would very simply say, the best team I've ever had, the pleasure to work with at Cherish.
No, thank you so much for sharing. I think there was some really great insights in that. So number one, for me, you can have a great idea and it can be the wrong time for it, or it can be a great idea that is just not a viable business. And the other point here is that often our failures lead us to the place that we need to be. So any entrepreneur has failed at some point. And if people were really clear on that, and if it was talked about more, then I think more resilience would exist, because it wouldn't be a big deal failing. It would just be a case of, okay, that didn't work out so well, so what's next? And then I really love the point that you made about teams, which has obviously been an evolving realization for you and has led you to the point where you're like, okay, now I have a really strong team because I understand more about what that looks like. And I'd love to go down a little bit more into that point about your personal definition of leadership and how you see that impacting business.
Well, so, every leader has their own style. Some leaders figure out what their style is and get really exceptional at it. They figure out their superpower, and others don't. I feel that I'm lucky to have figured out at least some of my superpowers. And so my leadership style is really to set a big vision and to find awesome people who buy into it, who can contribute to it, who can actually make it better. And then assemble folks to go build that vision with autonomy, with tremendous amounts of autonomy. I think that hiring people and then telling them what to do, hiring great people and then telling them what to do, rather than using their superpowers, letting them be themselves, is a waste. And so our style, what's happening at Cherish, is just an incredible team of folks who are inspired, motivated, driven, really pushing forward to go create something that the world has never seen before. And they're, I would go as far as saying they're just having a great time doing it.
Yeah, and that's really interesting that you have said essentially everyone at work should be using their superpowers. So you recognize your superpower as being the visionary, and as leader of a team, it's also to understand what are your team's superpowers so that you can all work in your zone of genius, which obviously has a strong knock-on impact on performance. But it's really interesting that, it's often a hard job for entrepreneurs to be able to delegate, to be able to let go, to be able to realize that I don't know everything, and that actually that's why I've got a team of experts to help me build what it is that is in my vision. Is your current attitude towards leadership something that you've evolved into, or did you intuitively know at the beginning, actually, this is how teams should work?
I had no idea. Very, very directly. It has absolutely evolved over the years. And I can clearly say that in my early days, I was one of those, heavily top-down types of leaders and driven by a vision and wanting to be in the middle of everything. And over the years, I've learned that there's just no way that anyone can succeed at that. What you can succeed at is hiring awesome people with those superpowers and building a team where people bring those superpowers together. And then over time, I've learned that my role really is to make sure that people get to exercise those superpowers, get to actually show up and be their best selves, and clear the decks for them to do that. That's a key part of my role. I'm a student of Steve Jobs. One of the things that he did when he came back to Apple, and he did this even prior at Next, he spent more time every day shutting things down, killing bad ideas or killing things that were great ideas but not important to the business, so that the team could stay focused on what really mattered. That is a key part of my job, because everyone's so full of ideas. But we have a mission and a very specific goal to achieve. And every single deviation from that costs time and money. Sometimes great things happen when you go off the main path, but for a startup, that's sometimes fatal. And so part of my job is just to make sure that we stay very, very focused on our mission, make sure that we're not veering off into the woods. Other than that, it's really all about driving forward as a team. We're a group of folks that love working together, and we all know our swim lanes. That's just fundamentally important.
Yeah, and if I may summarize that into shiny object syndrome,
yes,
it's absolutely something that can affect entrepreneurs if you don't nip it in the bud. But as you say, if that happens too much, you absolutely can kill everything that you're working towards. And there's a balance to be had as well with looking at, okay, well, we're going to work agilely, we're going to understand what's working and what's not, so that we can cut what's working whilst we're going along rather than waiting too long. So it sounds like you're really conscious of that balance.
The entire team is.
Right,
so.
And I'd love to know more about what are your plans over the coming year, and how do you envision Cherish growing and evolving?
So we have big plans. We just made a major announcement last week, 2 Mondays ago, at the world's largest trade show for health information technology. It's a trade show called HIMSS. We made a major announcement where we told the world for the first time what we're building, and we did that with a tremendous partner of ours, AT&T.
Congratulations.
So plans, thank you. And so plans for the rest of this year really are launching the product, learning from our initial launch, continuing to iterate and course correct as we may need, and really build up for a tremendous 2024.
Exciting. So, I mean, essentially, this year you see it as the preparation for the big explosion in 2024.
Probably, yes. That's exactly how we see it.
Okay. And in terms of yourself as a leader, apart from the experience element of having gone through various businesses yourself, how do you continue to make sure that you're growing and evolving as a leader?
I think a part of the answer lies in just being very, very open to feedback constantly. Another part of the answer is learning literally all the time. I think I can safely say that I do those two things just as a matter of course now. And it's been a great journey to get there. And it's really fantastic that people feel comfortable engaging in and giving feedback or participating in hard conversations. So I think that contributes tremendously. I think leaders need to give themselves time to take things in. When you're building a startup, one of the most precious things you have is time. There just is never enough. And so no matter what, you have to give yourself time to take things in, process them, be thoughtful, and learn from them. And so I think those are the things that I would, urge every leader to do on an ongoing basis. The heart of this is being a lifelong learner.
Yeah. And out of all the many areas that you could choose to learn in, so if we come back to the idea of focus, how do you choose where to focus your learning at any one time?
Very situational. There are moments when I've had to learn the details of a manufacturing process, or there are moments when I've had to learn the details of supply chain, moments where I've had to learn the details of some individual employees' challenges. It's really quite situational, and you just have to. The way I think about all this is, all of this is just a fantastic opportunity to make a difference and have an impact. And so, one of my mentors along the way taught me a great word. It's abundance. You approach every challenge with abundance. You take things in as opportunities rather than burdens, and everything changes. You show up with your with your with your best self because you embrace a challenge rather than see that as a problem, and it changes how you then deal with your teammates. It changes how you deal with the problem, and you then, with abundance, are able to share both the challenge and the reward. I think it's a fantastic way to be.
I absolutely love that word, and I love how you've put it into context, because at the end of the day, two people can be completely affected by the same situation in completely different ways, and it comes down to your internal process and how you think about something that will make the difference.
That's exactly right.
So
it's all about how you show up.
Yeah, exactly. And you can choose to show up from a place of abundance, as you said, or a place of, oh my God, panic stations, why has this happened to me? And when you show up from the second place, you're essentially giving away a lot of your power because you're putting responsibility on the outside world.
Very much so, but from an abundant perspective, there is so much that all ships rise, and there is more than enough for everyone to go around.
Absolutely. And the final question I want to ask you today, Sumit, is what advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you could go back in time?
Wow. Super hard question. There are so many things I've learned along the way. Give yourself the chance to be yourself is really the essence of it.
Yeah. I love that. You were like, there's so much I've learned, then you summed it up into one sentence. I feel like this is a superpower of yours, like summarizing everything very concisely. But yeah, I love that. And thank you so much for this conversation today.
Thank you so much. Enjoyed it.
Me too. So I hope that you enjoyed it, my listeners. And if you would like to be a part of the interview series Leading in the Modern Way, please do drop me a line. Thank you, and bye for now.